Entering a new season as an athlete, you might feel worried about getting injured, or you might hear some stories about players collapsing from heat exhaustion or other like heart defects and some of these other really scary ailments that you hear about in the news. But how can you mentally push through these things and still perform your best and play loose when you go back out into competition? Heat stroke, injuries, surgery, heart conditions, heart defects. There are lots of things that you hear about in the news now that are kind of scary that we hear happen to athletes, right? Lots of times these athletes are perfectly healthy until they one day just sort of collapse on the field or go down clutching their knee or their ankle or their arm or whatever it is. And these are really scary situations. So for a lot of you out there, I know that you can see these stories and think, oh my God, what if this was me? And start to feel this nervousness to give 100% or to go out there when it's really hot and humid and compete at full bore. But how can you get through some of these tough issues when you're worried about injuries or your health? So I've been through this before. I've had 2 major elbow surgeries called Tommy John surgery. It's a common baseball surgery. So I know what it's like to run out there on the field worried that today is your last day, because on multiple occasions, that was true for me. Before my first surgery, I was in summer baseball and I had been rehabbing my elbow. And the doctor said, basically, if you go through your rehab and you get back on the mound and you have any pain in the game, we're going to have to go ahead and get surgery. So I was rehabbing for 6 or 8 weeks and slowly building back up where I could enter games. And I remember that day I was in the University of Maryland's baseball field in a summer collegiate game. My coach needed me to pitch one inning in relief. That was the goal. And as I got warm, I started to feel my elbow hurt just a little. And I knew at that moment that I was probably sunk, but I was going to go back out there anyway because I had to get on the mound to really prove whether my elbow was healthy or whether it wasn't. And that was such a scary jog for me. I was jogging out from the bullpen from deep left field all the way out to the mound with pretty much this like feeling of doom. Like I knew, like I had a little bit of pain where I knew it probably wasn't going to get better. It was probably going to get worse. And as I warmed up in front of all these people in this actually tight situation that wasn't ideal, when my coach couldn't avoid bringing me in at that point, the pain got worse. And it felt like someone was stabbing a screwdriver into my elbow. And at that point, I was just out there. I knew my future. I knew I had to get elbow surgery. And I just had such dread and I was just trying to get through it. And it was just a really hard experience. And so you've probably seen players go through that or heard the stories, and it is really tough. And so for me, how did I get back on the field in the future and push through that? You know, that is something that could cripple an athlete for the rest of their career, wondering if every time they go back out, are they going to get hurt? Are they going to get injured? Are they going to collapse, right? When you see a teammate do that. So let's talk about some mental strategies that can help. So number one, when you feel these doubts or these fears or these anxious thoughts, your first thing is always to take a deep, slow breath. That helps you to reset. It helps to get oxygen into your brain. It helps give you the time to collect your thoughts and start to move forward in a more productive way. Number two, acknowledge how you feel. It's normal to be afraid. It's normal to have doubts. I had them until the last game of my pro career as a baseball player. It's normal. They don't really go away. You just get better at dealing with them. So number two is after that deep breath, which hopes to slow you down and reset you a little bit, you want to acknowledge your fears. You say, okay, I'm nervous about this. I'm thinking about this thing that's happened. It's racing through my brain. You know, this is really starting to affect me. I can feel this feeling. I can feel myself tense up. It's okay to acknowledge that you feel that way. And then after that, after you acknowledge it, ask yourself this question: what do I control? In this situation right now, what do I control? Number one, am I going to go out there and perform? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, then you're going to have to find a way to move forward. So you say, okay, I'm going to go out there no matter what. Now, do I control whether I get injured today? Do I control if I slip and fall and roll my ankle? Do I control if someone, runs into me and I tear my ACL? Do I control some of these things that might be going on inside my body that I don't really have knowledge of? The answer is no. Most of these factors, when it comes to injuries, you don't control. You only control your preparation, you control your effort and your attitude as an athlete, but ultimately you don't control whether you're going to roll your ankle in the middle of a soccer game. You don't control whether you're going to get hit by a pitch on the shin and break your shin as a baseball player. You don't control these things. It ultimately comes back to you. Do you have the courage to step back out there? Do you love the game? Do you love competing? Do you want to go do that? And if so, the goal is to take deep breaths and try to refocus yourself on the present moment, which is right now. What do I have to do right now? Right now, I have to throw this pitch. I have to, collect this pass from the quarterback. I have to tackle this guy. I have to block this guy. I have to field this next ground ball as a softball player. I have to wait for the starting gun, as a sprinter. Whatever your smallest task is, the goal is to refocus on that. And when you start to refocus on the things that are presently in front of you, the small things that you can actually control, then you're not going to have space as much to worry about the stuff that might happen in the future or has maybe happened to someone else or to you in the past. Staying present is a really powerful tool for keeping all that other stuff that is uncontrollable out of your mind. And beyond all this on-field performance stuff, if you feel like you're really struggling with this off the field, talk to someone you trust. Go to therapy. These are not signs of weakness, they're signs of strength. When you have problems like this, where you have something that's very real to you that you're trying to work through, but you're struggling with, it's not a sign of weakness seeking professional help. It's not a sign of weakness opening up to your friends. It's a sign of strength that you're moving forward and trying to better yourself and trying to tackle these problems in a healthy way. So if you feel like you're still struggling, even though you're using some of these techniques that, you might have learned from me or from someone else to help you get through this in the game, if you're still nervous and still have a lot of these doubts and anxieties about your health and about injuries, consider talking to someone that you trust and talking with a professional. These are things that can make a real difference in your mental health. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel, check out my mental skills book called This Slump Shall Pass, which is full of lessons just like this one to help you with your mental performance as an athlete. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you here in the next video.